I think the most daunting of all of that was the website. And we had no idea how much volume we were going to get on the first day. We were asked to prepare for about 1 million an hour. And I kind of did the back math and I just quickly said, it's free, it's open to the whole nation. Test kits are scarce. COVID is rampant. There is no way it's only going to be 1 million an hour.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Pritha Mehra. Pritha is the Chief Information Officer and Executive Vice President of the United States Postal Service, or USPS, a role she's held for a bit more than 3.5 years. She's worked at the USPS for 34 years in total. As CIO, Pritha oversees one of the world's largest technology infrastructures with 5 national deployments and solution centers, 32,000 network locations, 20,000 servers, and more than 930 applications on more than 180,000 devices, processing more than 110 petabytes of data per year. Pritha's focused on modernizing the USPS ecosystem, platforms, and network to meet the demands of an increasingly competitive market environment, overseeing a network that supports 640,000 employees and the delivery of 127 billion pieces of mail per year. I look forward to hearing more about the transformation she's leading through this conversation. Pritha, welcome to Technovation. It's great to speak with you today.
Thank you, Peter.
It's remarkable the scale, as I was just referring to, and I'm looking forward to understanding how you and the team grapple with all of that and indeed modernize it along the way as well. But I think every, at least American listening, would have some familiarity with the USPS. Any aspects of the organization you'd highlight as perhaps less understood facets of what you all do?
Oh, I guess there must be several of that. So one is we're a 250-year-old institution. And, of course, you see your carrier on the street and everyone knows that. I don't know if everyone knows that we deliver to 167 million addresses in the country. So we cover every state, every town. And of course, that everyone pays the same price for a first-class mail stamp, from point A to point B, right? And we process over 44% of the world's mail. Now, that's pretty big. One of the things that people don't generally know is that we're an independent agency of the executive branch. So we are required to operate like a business. We don't get appropriation. We engage in both the competitive parcel business as well as a non-competitive mail services. And so really in the parcel space, we face fierce competition. And, so we are self-sustaining. And we're a retail giant. We have over 33,000 post offices, so we're larger than Subway and McDonald's and all of that, right? And on the technology side, you said it, we have one of the world's largest technology infrastructures. We process over 115 petabytes of data. We have, 5 solution centers, lots and lots of applications. So yeah, we're big.
Indeed, that is surely the case. I wanted to also ask you to provide a bit of an overview as to your role as Chief Information Officer. What's within your purview, please?
So, I'm going to start by giving you our mission statement because I think it's really cool. We came up with it like 4 years ago, and it's still very relevant, and it's a very eloquent one. And it goes like this. It's like we create business value through an adaptive, talent-rich workforce inspired by composable technologies that drive innovative solutions, build insights, and sense the future. That's our mission statement. And my role, well, my group heads the technology arm of this organization. And by now, I'm sure you might have heard of the Delivering for America plan, which was drawn up by Louis DeJoy, our Postmaster General, 3 years ago. And it's really a very exciting time to be a CIO because there's a lot of investment in the growth of our business. So we have been modernizing everything. So one of my mission critical strategies is to modernize our mission critical ecosystems and platforms. So, literally, we're modernizing payroll and visibility and data and logistics and fleet management. customer engagement platforms, which to me is very critical. So that's one of our primary roles, and very heavily involved in SaaS because we don't want to build anything that's beautiful out there. So, so that's that. So, data is another very key strategy of ours. We want to really maximize the value of data as a strategic asset for the Postal Service and really use data to drive value. So, mission excellence across logistics, processing, delivery, and of course, customer product solutioning. So data is huge for us. Of course, we also manage the infrastructure and the telecom network, and we're also modernizing that. We're actually replacing our entire telecom network with a highly redundant system that's highly performant with capacity for growth. Zero trust on the cyber side. Cyber is very critical, and everyone owns security in our organization. We've done a lot to really promote security first. The CISO group used to be the most hated organization across the CIO, but not anymore. Everyone realizes how essential they are, and they've really matured in their practices and in their incident management and in their, detection capabilities. So we are very, very heavily involved in setting up a zero trust environment, and we do use those frameworks pretty vigorously. And then, of course, we want to really make our workforce really do everything we can for promoting workforce productivity, whether it's enabling the workforce with a mobile device, engineering the collaborative environments for the workforce. So that is also a critical strategy. And then one that's my favorite is, of course, creating a really digitally dexterous next generation CIO workforce, because that is really the key to a legacy, is just promoting that curiosity around technology, which I think is very critical.
I really like that digitally dexterous. Great turn of phrase, and appreciate that broader context as to what you and your team do. Well, you ascended to your role just a few months into the COVID pandemic, and I've read a bit about the remarkable role that the USPS played during the pandemic, ensuring that COVID tests were shipped in a timely fashion. Can you talk a bit about the role your organization played to help meet that challenge?
Yeah, and I say kudos to Louis DeJoy for this one, the Postmaster General. When the White House approached him, I think it was Christmas of 2021, and said that they wanted to deliver these test kits throughout the nation, and they wanted to start in 3 weeks. And literally, I got a phone call on the 26th of December. I'll never forget this. And I was asked to set up an ordering website for the nation in 3 weeks. No, we've never done anything crazy like that. So, my team's role was essentially to be responsible for all the systems, for ordering, inventory, fulfillment, customer care, tracking, visibility, all these systems. But I think the most daunting of all of that was the website, because that's very front facing. If anything fails at the back, nobody knows. But when you go in to order a test kit, and it was going to be free, and we had no idea how much volume we were going to get on the first day. We were asked to prepare for about 1 million an hour. And I kind of did the back math, and I just quickly said, it's free, it's open to the whole nation. Test kits are scarce. COVID is rampant. There is no way it's only going to be 1 million an hour. So I figured at least 1/3 of the population would order test kits within the first 2 days. And so I asked my team to plan for 20 million an hour. They were pretty mad at me, actually. And we built a three-pronged approach. We did 2 cloud solutions and 1 on-prem. We already had a postal store where people can go and order stamps. And so we had one team working on that. And we thought, oh, that's obvious. The other smart thing we really did was, it was really smart, was within the first week of this project, we started load testing. So the website wasn't completely built, but we just built the portion where someone can go and order. and on all these three sites. And then it was almost like a competition with the three teams on who's going to get there first. And of course, the cloud solution won. And it was a very eloquent design. We used a lot of capabilities that we already had in our organization, like Kafka queues and asynchronous cloud processing. And so it wasn't like everything was new. The website was new. And then we really partnered with the cloud providers and we let everyone know. We took the entire journey of the order and we made sure that every system we touched was scaled and ready and load tested. So we even called all the email providers and said, we're going to get lots of emails coming to your systems because when someone comes in to order, we send an email back to them saying, your order's been fulfilled and all of that. We've accepted the order. We're fulfilling it. So I think we were very careful and very meticulous about every step of that order and making sure that we had those systems tested, load tested, calling all our partners that were involved in it, all the vendors that were involved in it. And I tell you, it was euphoric on the first day because we had no idea, how many orders we were going to get. I think on the first day at peak hour, it was close to 9 million. So I wasn't that far off. And within the first 2 days, I think it was over 40 to 50 million. And I think the other thing that I must acknowledge is really the leadership of our Postmaster General, bringing all the teams across the organization together and designing a really elegant fulfillment system. So, these test kits came to us in pallets. We received them in 6 distribution centers. And then we had fulfillment centers, about 49 across the nation, where these pallets were sent. They were broken down and they were put into envelopes and kitted to a pack with labels and then shipped out. And quite a phenomenal story. I think we have delivered about 885 million tests to about 90 million households. So a pretty phenomenal story. Yeah. It's a feather in the CIO's cap for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. A fabulous story. I'm so glad you've just told it now. Remarkable what you and your team were able to undertake. And I wonder, obviously, necessity is the mother of invention, and quite a number of necessities were brought about as a result of the pandemic. But I wonder, as a result of the great work done, if there are any new ways of working or innovating that were developed that now have a shelf life or a means of operating now sort of post-pandemic, or however you might refer to this period. Are there lessons you've applied?
Yes, of course. Lessons the organization, firstly, we are uniquely capable to reach every door, well positioned to support agencies, customers, and delivering product at high quantities and vast speeds. One doesn't think of the Postal Service that way, but when put to the test, the whole organization came together really mission oriented. This is a very mission oriented organization. I think on the technology side, we demonstrated that we can be very agile and dexterous. We've also harnessed a lot of the technologies that we built around COVID for other projects that require that evidence of scale. And mostly everything we do is evidence at scale. The Kafka technology is like, one that we've now become so very familiar with. It drove a new level of excellence at high speeds among our technology team. So it was a big learning on the technology team, on their ability to deliver such a big project in 3 weeks, working together. And I think it also brought a lot more camaraderie across the technology organizations. In my own team, the development group, the infrastructure group, the CISO group, the data group, you name it, and definitely our endpoint technology group. And then I think we also learned the power of saying yes. It's easy to say no and it's impossible. But when we were trying to buy printers to print the labels across, COVID, you remember the supply chain issues? So printers were not available. So we had to call all our partners and we got the job done. So yeah, it's just a whole new energy and a whole can-do attitude.
That's fantastic. Really, really interesting, and I can imagine how much pride that must give the organization as well. I mentioned at the outset that you've been with the USPS for roughly 34 years now, so you've seen many waves of technology come and go as a result of that, and you've been part of a catalyst for change and modernization within the organization to ensure that a better foundation continues to be laid upon which the organization innovates. And I wonder if you can reflect on some of the recent transformations and activities associated with modernization that have particularly propelled the organization forward. What comes to mind, Pritha?
I'll start by talking about sort of some of the constructs that that I've sought to achieve here. One is technology curiosity. And I feel that these are not things you force down somebody's throat. You have to create a culture of technology curiosity. So we've done that. We actually, when I first started, that was the biggest thing I thought of. We were not a cloud shop, minimally a cloud shop. We built a lot of things. So how do you create the technology curiosity? And I don't know, one day I just woke up and said, I'm going to do tech chats. I was listening to something about fireside chats, and that just came to mind, and we started tech chats. And what we did was we brought in vendors, solution providers. It was pretty much open to anyone. It is open to anyone. And they could come in and they could describe a technology. And my only requirement was that you have to talk about technology because this is a CIO team. And so the first one we had, I remember I had asked the guy who leads our architecture, Jerry Wheeler, I said, Jerry, can we do one on AI? So why don't we just have everyone listen to a podcast and then you just do a chat with them? And he did that. He picked a podcast, sent it out, and then he invited all of CIO. And I said, even if 20 people join, I'll be happy. And we had over 500 people join. So people love this, and we are very open to the market. The other thing that we have sought to change is really promoting market awareness and looking outside of the organization. We really promoted people going out to conferences, to trade shows, especially technology, to all the cloud workshops, the RSA conferences, because I think that's really important in people understanding what's out there. And then whenever we select a mission critical operation that we want to modernize, like one of the ones I'm most proud of is our logistics operation. When we started this journey 3 years ago, we literally were doing soliciting of suppliers and transportation carriers with Excel spreadsheets and phone calls. And then we stitched together 5 SaaS products, one for transportation management, one for visibility, one for contracting, one for fuel management, one for fleet management, best in class. We stitched them all together, and that's our new logistics ecosystem. And we did this in a year, and it's huge. And the way we were successful was previously we would, as a technology organization, go out and put out a bid and wait for people to come back. And we weren't even clear what we should ask for because we were so legacy in our thinking that we didn't really know what best in class was. Today, what we do is we just invite people, come in and chat with us. And, everyone loves to talk to the Postal Service because we're such a big player. So just come in and talk to us about transportation management. And we look up the magic quadrant, find the 5 best players, and just have them chat with us. And I tell you, in a matter of a week, you've learned so much. And then the other thing we really did was we really grew our architecture team. There were 8 people when I started. It's in excess of 50 people now. Journey mapping is really important. So whenever we're trying to modernize anything, we first journey map the current state. It's really important to understand legacy and where you're coming from before you can define where you want to go to. especially in an organization like ours, where no system is on its own. It's always integrated with tons and tons of applications. So the power of journey mapping is all over the CIO group. Everyone knows, when you do modernization, we have a very strong architecture team that has laid out this process of journey mapping. So really, those are some of the constructs that we sought to sort of permeate across the organization. So there's a lot of excitement. And then the last paradigm is really understanding the business that you're automating. So previously, we would receive requirements from the business and then do exactly as we were told. Whereas now we've changed that whole paradigm in the CIO group, where we've actually developed verticals of excellence, where our folks are required to know the business that they are modernizing. So if you're going to modernize payroll, you need to understand the extreme payroll process. What are the deductions, all of that. How does a paycheck get created? And that's very exciting to see, because when you really partner with the business at that level, the value of your organization really advances. So those are some of the constructs that we've changed. And that has allowed us now to really catapult into bringing in modernization at a scale and speed that's unprecedented, right? So we've modernized our logistics platform, as I told you. We've also created an entire data group. We've got a chief data and analytics office. And we're really now thinking about, we've got, an AI policy, an AI implementation, a data policy, a data implementation, because an organization as large as ours has massive amounts of data. So we have to make sure that when we modernize, we're not creating these silo data sets. Data is no longer owned by an organization, it's enterprise. And we treat it as an enterprise asset. And we make sure that when you're modernizing one system that needs scan data of every package, we propagate it against every consumer of that information. So it's truly enterprise. Oh, and I think the other modernization initiative that I'm really proud of is that we have deployed an API platform for our customers. I think that's going to be the beginning of some really cool things to come. So this really helps our really wide and diverse industry engage with us and create technological solutions, whether it's for package delivery or whether it's for mail delivery.
Fascinating examples all. I appreciate those, Pritha. And among the innovations I've also learned that USPS has implemented has been digital twins to track parcels and packages. Can you talk a bit about the use of digital twins in that way?
Oh, sure. So every package that touches our system, we basically create a digital representation of the package. The journey starts with a notice from our shipping partners telling us that a product has been offered. It's in the fulfillment process and it'll be tendered shortly to the Postal Service, right? So there's your first event, right? Then continuing through acceptance of a package, whether it's a physical scan performed by an employee or a passive scan that's performed by one of our state-of-the-art package sorters, there you get more events, right? When that package then gets loaded onto transport, you get breadcrumbs from, your vehicles as they're transporting our packages through surface. We get notifications from our air carriers, right? And then, of course, as the last mile intelligence, when it reaches the post office, when it's out for delivery, when it's in the vehicle, and then when it's delivered. All of these events are captured as a digital representation so that we can have a complete knowledge and intelligence about the whereabouts of a package. And the value is twofold. It's internally to make sure that we are processing it efficiently, correctly, promoting the service excellence that our market wants, and then also advising, as you know by now, our customers, because there is an incredible need to know exactly where the package is and when it's going to show up at the door. And if there have been any reasons for non-delivery or, the person's moved or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, and we're spending a lot of investments on really getting better at understanding locations of our assets, because that brings a lot of value. And especially in as we want to promote service excellence, it's really, really critical.
Fascinating example again. I really appreciate you sharing a bit more about the way in which you've thought about that. Another area I know that you've put a lot of thought into is the role that tech and digital play in enhancing employee experience. Can you talk a bit about the conclusions you've drawn and, as a result, some of the solutions you've divined in order to aid that employee experience?
When I think about employee experience, it's twofold. It's us as a CIO group making sure that we have the right technologies for every employee in our workforce, but it's also how do you keep the CIO employees engaged and excited? And, we've spent a lot of energy on both sides of the coin there. We believe in strongly in investing in the development of our employees. When we first started this journey, we actually created digital badges where we did an assessment of the skill sets that were lacking in our organization. And then we identified courses and we created almost curriculums for our employees, and we posted it and said, go forth and have fun, whether it's a cloud certification, whether it's a data scientist, whether it's algorithms, statistics, math, lots of math. And so we put this out and said, okay, folks, we're all for it. And that was very exciting and then we also told folks, you're not limited to these courses. If you find courses you like, the only requirement is that you come back and tell us and maybe enhance our curriculum. We do offer a lot of training, a lot of sandbox opportunities. I talked to you about the tech chat. That has been super successful. Not only do we encourage outside vendors to come in, but we also encourage people from our own organization. If you have a topic you want to talk to people about, have at it. Come on up. We're continuing to draw over 500 participants from our group, and we've covered a wide range of topics, whether it's AI, machine learning, DevSecOps, Kafka, you name it. There's been a tech chat on it. We're really creating a culture of empowerment, transformation, agility, flexibility. We are also making sure that our organization is exposed to the business side. So in our tech chats, we have tech chats and then we have CIO chats. And in the CIO chats, we actually invite other leaders in our organization to explain their business to the CIO team. So that's also been very useful because as people build, it's important for them to understand the big picture of where all of the technology progress, what kind of value it's driving. We've done a lot to recognize employees. We have a CIO newsletter where we actually promote anytime someone puts out a project, we do a lot with promoting the stories. On the side of, promoting, we've really done a lot of work in growing our endpoint experience for our employees. We have a help desk that used to have a average wait time in line was, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours, and now it's, under 10. Not where we want it to be, but really moving. We're trying to strive to be the organization that a person never has a problem with their experience, their technology experience to do their job. We've really done a lot to make our supervisors and managers mobile with their technology. And so there's been a lot of work. Very proud of the work that my team has done in this space.
Rightfully so, rightfully so. We've talked about numerous trends through this conversation, those associated with data, APIs, the cloud. We talked about digital twins a few moments ago, among other topics. As you look to the future, Pritha, are there other trends that particularly excite you, whether technology or other trends beyond that?
The first trend in our organization is the Delivering for America plan. I am really excited about what Louis is doing. I think just the way he's redrawing the entire network to be so efficient, so optimized, really promoting excellence and then long-term viability of our organization. Very important trend in our organization. And it's almost like a fever now in our organization for folks to really take ownership of their portion of the Delivering for America plan and really grow it out. It's what we're doing in our organization for sure. I am also, like everyone else, I'm actually very excited about AI and ML. We have brought it into our organization in a big way in many areas. And I think the possibilities are endless. We are now looking at, we've harnessed this machine learning and AI in many, many areas. One, whether it's customer service excellence, using natural language processing for our help desks, definitely using many different ML models for predicting delivery. I think there is a tremendous opportunity for using that for really optimizing our processing and logistics operations, getting a lot more intelligence on volume predictions and workload predictions. I think the possibilities are endless there. On the business of the CIO, I think that is also where we have started playing. If you look at the entire software development lifecycle, I think whether it's code creation, whether it's code understanding, legacy code understanding, whether it's code testing, we've actually started playing around a lot with that. And that's actually, folks are really excited about that because we have about 900 legacy applications. And, for the ones that, and we're not modernizing all of them, we're modernizing them based on a priority of the DFA, the Delivering for America plan. But as we modernize, we're harnessing a lot of these technologies to understand what the legacy code is, because like everyone else, I'm sure we don't have great practices in documentation and all of this. So let technology do it for you. The other area where I'm really excited about it is in organizing our data, because we are an organization that just has a growing and unlimited amount of data. And how do you harness that? And how do you really drive the value from the data? I think that's another area where AI and ML plays a huge role. So yeah, I'm one of those that loves to jump into new technologies. So I'm having a field day.
You're at the right place, it sounds like. Well, I wanted to also ask you, Pritha, as you reflect on your career, especially your career with USPS and the heights that you've reached, what have been some of the difference makers along the way that have helped propel you to now your current post as Chief Information Officer?
I think curiosity. I always question the work I'm doing. So I look at outcomes to see, am I making a difference? I'm one that really loves change. And so I give this piece of advice to folks that if you ever come into your job and you feel that you're stultifying or you're not moving at it, you're bored, or it's just, I don't want to do this for another day, then seek to change. So, this organization, I've stayed here for 34 years because it's really allowed me to really jump careers on and on. It's a unique organization where someone who has a technology background like me then jumped onto sales. I worked in the sales and product development group. And then, I learned the business side and then, went back to technology. So I think that is really important, is when you feel like Groundhog Day and you're stuck, drive yourself to bring change, which I did. And I always volunteered, whenever there was anything to do, I would just say, I'll do it, even if it wasn't mine to do. And then this is what my dad taught me, which sticks to me, is like any job worth doing is worth doing well. So always put your best foot forward, even if it's boring. If you're taking the time to do it, you might as well do the best you can. Then, in an organization like ours, it's very easy to use the word bureaucracy. And I coined a phrase for myself. I said, you are the bureaucracy you experience. And by that, I mean, if you really wanted to break down the barriers, you could. And so don't blame the bureaucracy. And I've invested in myself. I've, gone to school a lot. I love going to school. So, we take our team to Silicon Valley almost every year. We haven't done it for a bit. It was very exciting because you just think differently when you meet people that are forerunners in their space. I think the most important thing for me is developing people, building high performance teams. I think that is really where teamwork is really important. And how do you build high performing teams? I think my organization, my direct reports, it's a wonderful camaraderie now. It's just, I think we've got a really high performing group, and we couldn't be if we couldn't do it if we had, with the amount we have to deliver. We've got to have that insatiable need for excellence and drive, and to really look at spending your time on things that are meaningful to the organization.
Very well put. Well, you spoke earlier about the importance of learning, and now the fact that curiosity is among the secrets to your success. I know you're also a reader and consumer of content with an interest of learning, among other reasons. I wonder, is there anything you've recently read or listened to and or watched that you would particularly recommend, Pritha?
Oh boy. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think I was telling you earlier that Friedman's podcasts are very interesting to me.
Lex Friedman, yeah.
Yeah. And then I recently read a book that was really interesting. I think it was called The Chip Wars.
Yes.
Was it Chip Wars? Am I saying the name right?
I think you're thinking of Chip War. Is that this one?
Chip War, right.
Yeah.
I found that book fascinating. I mean, the whole chip story, it's fascinating and a bit scary too. Yeah. But I do like podcasts a lot, and I listen to a lot of them. I like to listen to, I haven't found enough in the spaces that I'm looking for, but Friedman's podcast is really good. I do enjoy his podcasts.
Wonderful. Well, the great recommendations. And moreover, a great conversation to boot, Pritha. I really appreciate you taking time with me today, sharing a bit about your journey across your time at the USPS, as well as the recent journey under your leadership as Chief Information Officer. It's been a great conversation.
It was great to be here, and thanks for inviting me to speak.